All right. Hi, everyone. Today we are speaking to Taljaard, the founder of Period Namibia, for our 61st video session. But before we begin, let's just share a little bit about what we do at Impaction and the purpose of our meeting in the first place. So at Impaction, our mission is to connect job seekers directly to job creators. And we're trying to do this in transparent and easy ways through our portal that's published on our website right now. We also host social innovation competitions, and Taljaard has been nominated, is a semifinalist for our 2021 social innovation competition as well. So we're really excited to have him here today. Before we get started, we would love to have everyone give a brief introduction about themselves in 2 sentences or less. So share a little bit about yourself and where you're from, and we will get started with the session quickly after that. So I'll start with myself. I'm Shivani. I'm the CEO of Impaction, based out here in Chicago, Illinois. I'm gonna go in the order that I see. So the next person is Bethany. You wanna go first?
Hi, I'm Bethany. I'm from the US, but I'm currently based in South Sudan. I work for Jesuit Refugee Services, so I'm working with refugees, and I'm interested in evaluation, research and evaluation.
Yeah, you are. Nice. Gilvin, do you want to go next? And you might be on mute, my friend.
Hi, I'm Gilvin. I'm from Namibia. I'm a former police officer, and I'm currently in a local township of Otavi. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Rebecca, it's good seeing you. You want to introduce yourself, bro?
My name is Rebecca Zalu. Family is from Ethiopia, but I'm living in Chicago, and I work in refugee resettlement, as well as Chicago organizing, and currently a city bureau documenter, going into Chicago City Council meetings, CPD meetings, stuff like that.
Nice. Thanks for joining. Really excited. Varushka, am I saying this right? Varushka? Maybe not.
Yeah, you're saying you're right.
Oh, okay.
Hello, everybody. I'm Varushka Mbai from Namibia, but I'm currently living in England. I am the founder of the VH Foundation, which is a foundation which helps abused women and children to provide them with any necessities they need to make Namibia a better place.
Wow, amazing. Thank you so much for joining. Frida, do you want to go next?
Yes, my name is Frida. I'm a Namibian girl currently living in Ethiopia and working as a volunteer at the African Union.
Wow. Amazing. Thank you so much. Meg, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Meg. I live in St. Louis, Missouri. I work in Ag Tech VC, so a little bit different, but excited to join and kind of problem solve today.
Thank you. Thank you so much. All right. Wow. We have a lot of talent in today's call. So let's just get started. I'm going to introduce our speaker for today, and then he's just going to get started with the presentation. So today we are going to solve challenges for Taljaard, who is the founder of Period Namibia. He is a Namibian-born primary school teacher with over 15 years of teaching experience in both public and private schools. The Menstrual Hygiene is an organization that addresses period poverty, stigma, and shame through education, advocacy, and service across Namibia. He is passionate about addressing inadequacies in menstrual health and hygiene by ensuring social justice and human rights for all. He is a sustainable development goals enthusiast. So we have some UN people here. So he is an enthusiast with a keen sense to help his government and fellow citizens localize the socioeconomic development agenda. He also wants to ensure that each and every Namibian girl and beyond receive adequate education and services in in an enabling and responsive policy environment in terms of menstrual health and hygiene. He's looking for support across 3 main areas. Number 1, feedback on his advocacy structure. Number 2, recommendations on networks that he can use to navigate various societal and structural barriers in this regard. And number 3, how to advise or influence policy at a national or international level. So there are a lot of challenges that, he is bringing forward to the table, and let's just get started with the presentation. Thank you so much for joining, and yeah, go for it, my friend.
Okay, hi everybody. I'm so excited to see everyone's lovely faces, beautiful faces. And I must say that I'm so happy to see also my Namibian friends that I have been talking to. And also I just want to let you know that Verushka Mbai, with that beautiful face there, she was my former student here in Namibia at Amazing Kids Private School. And now she's living in UK and she's doing what the master is doing actually. So we are constantly in communication, and she has turned out to be my advisor as well. So I'm so happy to have her here. So let's start. I will just be sharing the screen, and so that we can start with the presentation. And then maybe also I will touch on Mr. Kelvin already a bit later on why he's here, because we are also partners in Period Namibia. He's part of the executive board. And then Madam France, we also met. So I'm so happy to see Namibians on this platform. Yeah. So let's just start with the PowerPoint slide. Yeah, there is it. So I'll just go through the slide. That was just an introduction. I'm the founder and the executive director of Menstrual Health and Hygiene Management Movement. First of all, it was Period Namibia, and due to our business regulatory authority, they said that no, according to their standards, I have to change the name. Period Namibia is not acceptable, so that's why I went for Menstrual Health and Hygiene Management Movement. And remember, I'm also in partnership with, this is also an idea that I have in partnership with an American organization called Period Incorporation. They are also doing a similar initiative, all right? So let me continue. The next slide. Yeah, let me just move this. Yeah, this side. Okay. Yeah, so I'm a primary school. Okay, this was already mentioned. I'm a primary school teacher teaching at Donates Primary School in Ochiwarongo. Over the years, I did some courses with the United Nations Institute for Training and Research. I did some courses with the World Health Organization, Integrity Action, United Nations Public Administration Network, the Young African Leadership Initiative, I think that you know, and the Global Health Learning Center, and many more. So these were just certification courses in terms of capacity building, and most of these courses concentrated on human rights, sustainable development goals, anti-corruption, sexual and reproductive health rights, and MHM and gender equality. And then moving on, yeah, that is actually the booklet that we co-developed with my partners, Real Relief in Denmark. They are actually the bona fide manufacturer of the product called SafePad, which is a antimicrobial reusable sanitary pad with superior hygienic qualities and so on. So that is actually the idea that I want to introduce on our landscape. So I have the book here. Some of the girls and boys in my localities, they bought the book and I was just going through with them. So I just decided to take some pictures. As you can see in the middle, that's my son. He was also busy reading this book, you understand? And that is actually what I want to drive through, that we men, we should also be involved in this kind of advocacy. And that's why I'm so happy to see him there. Yeah. So moving on, then actually our mission in this whole thing is that is to address inadequacies in menstrual health and hygiene management from a human rights perspective, because I believe that once we classify it as a human rights issue, that is the only way that we can send the message through that we want, especially through the the existing structures like the UN and all the other international agencies. Yeah, and also is to ensure informed, and informed is very, very important, because when you look in many cases, when you look at menstruation itself, even our curriculum is not really that supportive in terms of the hygienic aspect, telling us exactly how should you take care of yourself during menstruation, and healthy, pleasurable, and happy menstruation experience for each and every Namibian child. Now, over again, you will hear that, girls are using rags for pads. We had experiences when I was in Hobabes where you find our girls are using old cloth mattresses just to relieve themselves because they don't have access to these sanitary products. And also to ensure that no child misses out on school due to a lack of sanitary pads or sanitation in school, or products or facilities. You find schools, you have menstruators in schools, but schools don't even have clean running water. That has to speak with policy, because how can you have menstruators in school while you don't have water? Where are they going to clean themselves? And we talk about hygiene. So these are all the loopholes that are accumulating to this advocacy. So, and also to ensure that men are included, like me sitting here and talking to you, in addressing inadequacies in MHM, because we are fathers to these daughters, we are husbands to our wives, we are uncles to our nieces. I mean, it's just time for us to come to the table and join the play. So yes, the challenges that we are facing are very, very vast. As I said, that's why our pillars all concentrates on policy, education, and advocacy, because they are incorporated in those pillars. And when we look at a robust policy initiative, menstrual health and hygiene management policy. We look at curriculum support. We look at funding opportunities, because over the world over, you will find that there is little research funding available for the field of menstrual health and hygiene management. And in most cases, you will find that menstrual health and hygiene management is in conflict with sexual and reproductive health rights. And that's a problem, because under sexual and reproductive health rights, the main priorities are abortion, HIV and AIDS, unwanted pregnancies, and so on. MHM is nowhere to be found. And I don't know really, maybe someone must explain to me, menstrual health and hygiene management deals with birth. It's about maternity. It's a missed opportunity, can we describe it? And how is that not part of sexual rights? How is that not part of sexual health? I think that's why I looked at policy at international level to say, but what is the UNFPA? How can we reach out to UNFPA? How can we reach out to UNICEF? How can we reach out to those UN agencies so that we can restructure or reform our policies and look at MHM so that it can be absorbed in our national agendas? And then also we look at traditional cultural norms, very, very important. They are one of the key catalysts that exacerbate the situation, because African cities and countries, people are still subjected to cultural norms when it comes to menstrual health and hygiene management. Education is very little in those setups. And most of all, sometimes you get those leaders into positions and they don't want to drive this agenda through if they're given the position of power, because they always conform to their societal norms and traditional dispensations. So these are things that we have to look at. And then we also look at community awareness, menstrual product options, because I talk about rights and choice-based menstruation. You understand? One can get cups. If you don't like cups, you have to have the choice of using any product that you want to. You understand? That is very comfortable with you. We don't have to force or impose products on you, because you are violating your rights there. And then also the question of availability and accessibility. In most cases, you find that products are there on the market, but are they accessible? That's the question again. Are they there? School kids, unemployed parents, orphans, can they buy these things if they're on the shelf? So we need a sustainable solution. We need a product that is viable and that is sustainable, so that we can ensure social justice. Otherwise, we'll just be talking and talking and we're not doing anything. So, and the other one is the reusable sanitary pad standards. I know if I'm not mistaken, is it Norway or what? Norway, I think we are busy. People are busy outside the organizations and institutions are busy, because we don't have standards for sanitary pads, for reusable sanitary pads. The ISO, the International Standard Organization, does not have universal standards for sanitary pads. And it makes it difficult for our countries to be able to develop this. Under which guidance are we going to develop this? That's why many entrepreneurs end up in this stumbling block, because the national authorities cannot even assist you. And it's vast, and we'll still deliberate on them. So Then that's me. That's the picture. That's the t-shirt that we are busy with designing. And then that's the booklet, and that's the pet itself, the safe pet technology that I want to introduce on the Namibian landscape. That's me there, handing over the books that were bought by the principal of a local school here, Miss Elby van der Westerisen. And this is me and a local GP in town. He's also a local constituency councillor, Dr. Losha. He also bought some books. And here it's me, I'm there. And then we have the principal of Rokate Primary School. They also bought some books in bulk, and then I was just distributing. Poverty, shame, and stigma. This is still happening. And I'm a teacher for 15 years. We are facing this on a daily basis in our schools, not only from the learners themselves, but also from the teachers themselves. Because sometimes we male teachers, we think that we don't even understand the menstrual, we only know the menstrual cycle. We don't know the feelings part of it. And sometimes a girl child can walk into class being on ovulation, and then she might be in a certain mood, for instance, or she might be on menstruation, and yet you don't know what is going on with this girl child. You just start, labeling it and screaming it. We don't really celebrate it at a regional scale in Namibia, or at a constituency level in Namibia. I remember one celebration only happened in 2018, because in 2018 in Kobabas, on the 18th of May, because that's the International Menstrual Health and Hygiene Management Day. But we need to have our own days as well that are gazetted by our own government. Just a day where we organize product drives and just make this language a common language in our communities. The curriculum reform, because there were things that we identified, especially with our curriculum. And if I have to go into this one, it will take us a long time, but the curriculum does not really, not much is included in the curriculum when it comes to hygiene. Because what I believe hygiene is very, very important when it comes to menstruation. Because it's not only a matter of providing pads to the girls. We need to educate our girls exactly on how to take care of themselves, how they should wash themselves. Now, washing becomes a problem if you look at policy in areas where there is no water. How are you going to now talk about washing if there is no water? So these things have to work with policy. So we have to start the need to raise the need for policy initiative from the ground. We have to depict this situation so that it can show it can reflect at policy level. Then that's the local production plan of safe pad that I want to bring to Namibia, which is a reusable sanitary pad, and data. One thing that I've realized, I talked about research. Now we want to influence policy, but you don't have data. How can you influence policy if you don't have data? If you don't have research data? Now, if you look very well, I looked at countries like India and some of the developed countries. They have research. They have data. They have invested resources into research, and their planning is directed. But when you look into Namibia, it is really so sad that after independence, we do not prioritize this field. We still don't have enough research to inform our policies. That's one thing that I am struggling with, to see that, but how can I penetrate this system? And I want you guys to come in there and just guide me. So moving on, the advice that I wanted was already mentioned. Just feedback on my advocacy structure, recommendations on network opportunities, and guidance on how to influence policy at local, regional, and national level. Okay, and then I would say, this is just the end. I say, and here I say, the fight against menstrual inadequacies is very important to be left in the hands of the governments alone. The fight should be a collective responsibility of each and every global citizen. Yeah, so I end there. Just quickly switch the light on.
Yes.
Sorry. Yes, yeah.
That was a very impactful entire presentation. You laid out the entire system, especially as best as you can, and it really highlighted the huge challenge that we're facing, not only in the period or the menstrual health and hygiene, but just general health and hygiene that you're looking at as well. Let's talk about that first challenge, right? We have some people that work in M&E, people that work in advocacy, people that work in government on this call. So I think let's just start with the advocacy structure that you pointed out. So does anyone have any initial thoughts about his advocacy structure and the way that he outlined that? And then Taljaard, if you can stop sharing your screen, let's bring the conversation back to the people. Great. Thank you. And I don't know if I can speak for everyone else, but can you share a little bit about what your real advocacy structure really looks like? So give us the linear structure that you're pointing out, because there was a lot in the presentation that I think at least I needed to get my mind around. You might be on mute.
Am I unmute?
Yes, there you go.
Okay, yeah. Actually, our advocacy structure is actually will be based through the regions, and then we want to penetrate the system through our local authority councillors and local communities, where we look at policies policies that are not in place, and then we identify the councillors, our leaders on the ground, and then we meet them and we do our formal presentation on what we ought the policies should be in order to address this. Also we want to and that's the thing now where I talk about this thing that when I appointed these regional presidents, they have to set up regional structures, okay? And through their regional structures, they are going to have departments or sections that deals with advocacy, education, and policy, okay? And then they will be driving these initiatives in the regions on the ground themselves. And as we progress, they are going to collect data and information and then do the necessary presentations now to our leaders. That's actually the structures that I'm having, because I have realized that, you know, going to the top, it won't prove anything. You go to your leaders, you talk to them about this, you don't have any information, you don't have any data, you haven't done anything on the ground, it proves pointless. And you are talking to people who does not even care about this menstrual health and hygiene management, because in our cultures, it was always seen as an area of women. You know, me as a man coming to a man talking about this, it's like you are undermining his presence. You are causing problems in the system. You understand? So it's not something like your side in America, where it is so open and you know, you have all these civil rights organizations doing it. Here it's a bit different. That's why I decided then, let me create the need from the ground. The only challenge that I have is the capacity of the structures that I have. They are not so strong, because I might be one of them who understands this field better, because I'm in this thing now for 10 years. Mind you, I have youthful people who are just in school or who are just graduated now, and then it's just their time, the first time in advocacy. They don't even know the structures of advocacy. It was Corona time. We could not really meet. Most of them don't have gadgets. They don't have access to Wi-Fi. You cannot even do virtual meetings, but yet they want to participate. They want to be part and parcel of the organization. You cannot shun them away. And those who are in possession of this, they saw this information. They don't want to take part in this. As I tell you, I have people today of my age who will never comment on Facebook or in a social setup on my work that I'm doing, but that they will come at night in my inbox telling me, no, sir, please continue what you are doing. But it's a man. But then I'm asking, but why are you coming? Why don't you just comment? No, I'm not ready for that now. So we are dealing with those kind of barriers. So it's not an easy thing. I'm stuck. I'm sitting with my head underneath between my legs, saying that how can I penetrate the system? What can we not see? And mind you, in our leadership, we have women leaders who, some of them underwent through these situations. Some of them have daughters. Some of them, they are even parents, guardians to girls who are undergoing this. But that's why I'm wondering, am I advocating something in Namibia, or am I doing something which is where I'm alone, outside the country? You understand? Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And I think that something that you pointed out was really crucial, was the fact that there is a sort of shame and stigma that's associated with menstrual health and hygiene, especially men thinking that it's a woman's only issue. Do you think that that might, trying to understand how men would be a part of this advocacy structure, is that something that you want to incorporate in your structure moving forward, so you can collect data, you can have some of that advocacy from the grounds up, from a grassroots level, and then you can bring in, politicians and speak to leaders after that. Sometimes what I've seen, even in America, there's a lot of social justice issues that happen here, but especially if it's marginalized people that are the ones that are protesting and that are speaking out, sometimes they need people who have quote unquote more power to be a part of that conversation so they can leverage that power moving forward. Does anyone have any thoughts about this or what he spoke about so far?
I just wanted to say one of my favorite parts of the presentation was calling out that like men have to be part of this issue too. This is not just a women's issue, as is the case with any gender issue. This is something I've noticed even working in gender equity in the US and elsewhere, focusing on incorporating men in the mission and into the work is crucial. So it's awesome that you're making that a part of your mission, even if you feel like you're still getting some pushback on it. I also kind of want to second what Shivani said about the grassroots advocacy. It's like slow going, but those local allies, other teachers, other school administrators, I'm thinking of other health workers would be a good, health workers are pretty busy right now, but in the long run, when maybe things calm down a little bit, like nurses and other clinic workers, they know this stuff. You're not going to have to kind of get them on board. So if they can be involved in some of the local advocacy to get the message out, that may be a push in the direction that would give you some credibility with other sources as well. If people see it as a health issue and not just a gender issue, I think that would be helpful. And we know this affects education as well. Girls don't go to school if they're having these sorts of issues with access. So, but yeah.
Can I say something? I really like the way you go to the primary teachers and, they are the one who going to introduce to the girls the sanitary napkins and all the hygiene products. I think that's the best way to do it before they start into their journey. They already know how to take care of themselves, and very beginning they're learning all this. I think that's very, very important for them. So I really like that idea to go to as many primary school and expose the kids and give them education through the teacher, make maybe part of the one subject or one, 1 hour thing, that semester, just to educating those kids, like, okay, this might be the time you are going to have this, and you will be prepared for this. This is not something you should be scared of, or they already prepared when it comes to, and they are ready to fight and go with that. It's not like something very scary or imaginary things for them. So I really like the way you're going to the primary school teachers and encouraging them to educate the kids for that.
So when you educate the kids, do you educate only girls or boys also?
Yeah, what I do is that my approach is educating the boys as well, because what you have to understand is that it does not help that you are educating the girls only and you don't include the boys. I can take an example of myself. I'm a father to a daughter, and the other day my wife left. She was out of town, and then my nieces came over, and then she was on her periods, and it was only us at home. And then she approached me because she saw the work that I'm doing, and then she asked me to buy for a pack of napkins. And what I'm saying is that this will happen because if I don't educate the boys, they would not appreciate the girls as much as they would. And I can just reflect on something else. What happened is that people tend to take this issue very lightly. I remember when I was in Hobabes, I was the chairperson of the Hobabes Action Group. That was a group that was dealing with those kids who are living on and off the streets. So our duty was trying to identify these kids and bring them home and find for them a shelter. And what happened there is that, due to a lack of conversation and openness about menstrual health and hygiene management in our homes and localities, girls fall prey to predators outside there. Why? Because if I don't talk to my child about, and I don't guide my child about menstrual health and hygiene management, it is very, very likely that this child will go and seek refuge from the environment. And through that environment is where that environment will provide her with pets, and then not only with those that environment impregnated, but most importantly, worst of all, infected with HIV and AIDS. And these are things that are happening. And also mind you that if I, a father, don't have a conversation with my girl on this thing, I would not build that relationship where I see her as a daughter. I will start seeing her as a prey that I can prey on once my wife is gone. That's why you find that in Namibia, a lot of girls are getting pregnant, but they are impregnated by their fathers or those ones who are supposed to take care of them. Why? Because they don't appreciate them, because we don't go through their pains with them. That is why this initiative is very, very important, that men has to be involved. And that's why I'm a man who's advocating for this. So I will obviously start with the men, although it is very difficult to penetrate the men, because cultural wise and traditional wise, we are not, men is not supposed to be seen with pets around. I'm seen with pets all over the Facebook. People are even asking me, why, what are you doing? Are you turning into a gay? Or what are you doing there? But I'm saying I'm doing this not only because of others, but I have a daughter in my house. How do I want to grow my daughter if I don't show her the example? So these are the structural barriers that we are still facing. Things are not easy yet around here. That's why when I even, let me just finish this one. When I went to schools, that's why it's a problem, because even when I went to schools, even with that booklet, it's so weird that the parents themselves are the ones who are sending their kids to come and get the booklet from me. Even the schools themselves, teachers in the schools, they are not even, very openly enough to talk to me about this thing. There is still that stigma. There is still that shame. You understand? And that is what I want to break. I want to break that silence to say, I as a man can also be involved, and I can be a salvation, maybe a solution to your needs. We are partners in this thing. We are addressing the SDGs. So let us have those kind of conversations. That's why I want to look at international organizations, agencies like the United Nations agencies, the UNFPAs. They have offices in Namibia. They know what is happening on a daily basis in Namibia, but they have never taken a bold step to address this issue. These are the barriers that we are having.
Yeah, and thank you for that. I wanted to share that there's a question in the chat. Have you tried partnering with feminine hygiene companies or local players in the area?
Yes, to tell you the truth, I haven't seen, and I haven't seen, okay, maybe feminine groups, I still have to look for them. I still have to look for them. But to tell you the truth, I haven't seen an interest as of yet in Namibia at this level about menstrual health and hygiene management. I haven't seen people standing up just by their own, and talking about menstrual health and hygiene management issues in Namibia. It's very seldom. It's maybe once a while when you just see a conversation on TV. It's not part of our daily lives, and that makes it difficult for you to start an advocacy in this kind of field, because nobody will follow up on anything, because there is no literature available. There is no information available. And people are so skeptical to join each and every this advocacy, because I'm just standing on my own. I am starting it from scratch, and I am a man from that matter. And people are a bit skeptical to join. People are a bit skeptical to open. They will only want it to come from the government itself. And that's why I'm saying government cannot do anything. Government cannot do everything by itself. But with feminine groups, I must at least maybe try one to reach out to them. That's a very good suggestion, yeah.
Yeah, that's a great idea. And I specifically want to ask, actually, I think Meg, you had something to say, right? Yeah, go for it.
Sure. I was just, I was going to say, I really recognize your frustration and kind of these cultural stigma that you're having to face, that it's not a fast moving process, that you said people are skeptical of kind of joining this process. My one piece of experience that I think would be helpful in this, I lived in Blantyre, Malawi for a 6-month period where we were trying to introduce new technology to a hospital. It was for neonatals, but the only way to convince nurses in each regional hospital that it was had value, that they should start using the CPAP machine, was because we had data to show that it was making an improvement. And so when you start looking at these key players, these men and women who are not willing to be seen on Facebook talking about it, if you have data to be able to communicate the value that menstrual hygiene education would be able to provide, and the number of girls who would continue their education, like if you had those hard facts, or those like a really clear-cut story, I feel like that's one way in my mind. And I know you mentioned like you're working with the regional structures to get all these things, to be able to collect data that kind of disseminates that. But I think you can borrow data from other countries, or the data that's publicly available, to say, look at what we can do here. This is the value if you're able to start helping me break this stigma. And if you're able to take that step, we can start contributing that value.
Yeah. No, that's very good, because what I also want you to understand during on this juncture is that social CSOs, community service organizations, in our country, it's still a new concept. You understand? It is still a new dimension that we have to explore, because you don't really find in Namibia very community-based organizations or that are advocating for various type of things, in all the regions. You would find that maybe in the capital city like Windhoek, there is a few NGOs there that are advocating or localizing the socio-economic development agenda. But in Namibia, it is still a new concept. And that's why you find that it is very, very difficult for people to start advocacy by themselves, because it is still a new concept. It does not have trust in the system. And that is where I would think that in this, and remember, I've been working for foundations. I was part of the Pebble Foundation, and we used to collect pets, sanitary napkins, and then we donate them to the needies. Now, what happens is that with a foundation, you only get to service these girls once. You understand? You only come once a month, you raise their hopes, and then the next month you disappear. You break them down again, because there is no constant supply of this thing. Because in those foundations, you cannot go, the donors, you cannot go back to them again, because they will tell you that, no, we sorted this area out already. Now we need to concentrate on another area. Now, what I want to come to is the policy environment itself. I want to come back to the policy, because if we can have a policy environment that addresses menstrual health and hygiene management as it should be, it would not be difficult for a person like me to approach even a local organization for partnership, because that will be incorporated in their strategic plan. But now what is happening is that MHM is not a priority from the government side. That's why even corporate organizations, they would rather invest their money in HIV and AIDS or in other issues that does not have anything to do with MHM. So I think also the policy environment itself is something that we need to penetrate. Right now, we don't even have a menstrual health and hygiene management policy in our ministry, from our Ministry of Health. We don't have. Kenya launched its MHM policy just 3 weeks back. It launched its MHM policy, but we don't have any here. And that's why it makes it so difficult for you to be able to penetrate the system, because nobody's listening to you. Nobody will pay attention to you. And our setups here, it's more from a political side, because we only think that everything has to come from the government and it will have to come from a political office. When you start something there, it must first have some consent papers. It must have first have some endorsement letter. That is the only way how you can penetrate the office on the ground. So we still live in that kind of scenario.
So I'm hearing a couple of things from you, right? So there's the education side, there's the access to resources side, there's the cultural side, there's the data collection side, there's the advocacy to political figures side, right? So this is a huge issue that maybe like one nonprofit or one person, there's a lot to uncover there, right? So if you had to choose between, you know, these different sides, which would be your first, you know, first point of action? What is the one that you can work on, you know, with all of your energy, all of your time, all of your resources?
Yes, my point of, because these things are on a scale, they are balancing. You cannot do one without the other one. Then you are not going to make any sense. Yeah, because look, I can go for policy advocacy, but on what am I basing my policy advocacy on? I must have some movements on the ground already to say, but look, in that area, this and these girls did not attend school because, and mind you, we don't even statistics themselves that can tell us just exactly from age this to this, how many girls are missing school because of this. From age this to this, how many girls are out of school because of this. We don't have those statistics when it comes to MHM. And that becomes difficult from the government side, because even if I have to search for data, relevant data that I can present my case, there is nothing to support this. That's why now I need to find people on the ground to be able to create movement on the ground. Once I'm approaching them on the policy initiative, at least I can support this with this data. Statistics is not available. And I need the support from the relevant stakeholders, like the UN agencies, because they are responsible for these areas. I need for us to come on board. And one thing that I can tell you, and I will be very frank with you, what I've realized mostly of the UN agencies also, they only want to work on the programs that are presented by government. That's all. They would not really want to listen to you on the ground there. They would rather have you being recommended by an office of trust, maybe the office of the first lady giving you like a recommendation letter for you to see them. That is the only way that they are going to listen to you. Now, if my government's agenda is not incorporating MHM, how will these agencies even be able to listen to me?
So it has to go back to your last slide, right? I mean, yes, it's important to keep government officials accountable, but at a certain time, it starts with the individual, right? So that's where your advocacy, your stigma, your education initiatives come into play. And I understand that you can't focus on maybe one activity all at once, because it is like they all sort of depend on each other, right? One can't offset the. So what I'm trying to say is, especially like organizations that are working in the space, sometimes it's like when we try to figure out, when we see that it's important to see the system all at once, and maybe that's where like your vision comes into play to get like maybe 5 years down the road, get the government officials accountable, have this presented at the UN, and get additional resources through there. But what is something that you can do right now on the ground that works towards alleviating some of the stigma, or you already have booklets that you give out for education, right? So it's about trying to unpack the stigma and getting the power back to the people, so government officials can ultimately, you know, get their heads out of their books and listen to what's going on.
Yeah, no, that's very true, because it is very difficult really to pinpoint that one, because we did the booklets because we like for instance, according to UNFPA, menstruation starts, MENAC, which is menstruation, will start at about age 8 to 10 there. That's the offset. But in severe cases where you have malnutrition and poverty, it can start at as early as 7. Now, when I made this presentation to one of our national leaders, the national leader was shocked where I'm getting this information from. And prior to my presentation with this national leader, I had an outreach program in one of the settlements there somewhere there in Namibia. And this was one of the marginalized groups of Namibia. And I went to find out that it is true that a child due to circumstances, economical and social circumstances, can offset MENAC as early as at 7. Because when I went there, I went to find out that this child was 7 years old. You understand? And then when I came to present this, I was told that we will do our education age appropriately. Now my question is, our motto by the president is, nobody should be left out. We must build an inclusive Namibian house. Now, what about those who are already menstruating and yet they are left on their own there? Because what I can tell you, our curriculum, I went through the curriculum itself. Only in grade 5, in the 5th grade, grade 5, do we touch a bit on the menstrual cycle. Only in grade 5, in the life skills curriculum, in the life skills syllabus. Then in grade 6, natural science, only in grade 6 do we touch a bit again on menstruation, just there. Now just imagine in grade 6, a child would be 12 years old there. And if this child has started menstruating at age 7, so from 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, this child is on her own. And mind you, if the parents themselves are also not conversant with this subject, then this child is left to the predators, as I said. And predators are so clever because they know that once you start menstruating, you are a target of death. That is the problem. So now I'm saying this booklet then, that's why we introduce a booklet, so that it can serve as a solution just by that time that the curriculum cannot fit. So that at least it can also spark the conversation in our houses with our families. But also, most importantly, so that we can have a curriculum reform, because we need to educate. The curriculum must be relevant. We cannot have a curriculum that is based on issues that are not happening in our lives. For instance, when we talk about natural science and we talk about health, the sexual health education, we must be able in our curriculum to explain to our girls exactly on premenstrual syndrome, how to handle yourself during menstruation, what exercises you can do during your menstruation, how to track your periods. Because many a times, girls will come to me in the classroom telling me, say, I'm always getting my periods at school because I don't know how to track them from 1 month to the next month. Even adult ladies, even adults like you, they are coming to me telling me, it is true, we don't even know how to track our periods. It just happens, we know it will just happen. That's why you find most of them are coming to school unprepared. And then you find that at school there are no pets. Moreover, there is no ablution facilities for them to clean themselves. Now, do you want to tell me that those girls will come tomorrow to school the next day? They won't come to school because they will be embarrassed. It's like a shame. So that's why I already started with a booklet, for just education, because I believe that once we educate and once it becomes a conversation in our localities, a common language in our localities, somewhere, somehow, we must spark the change that we want to do in our houses. That is actually why I started with education. And then in the meantime, I have the idea of policy on the other side. And these two will depend on my advocacy. How strong is my advocacy on the ground? Mm-hmm. The advocacy must be strong. And so these are the interrelationships between these 3 pillars. So I think, first of all, is education. Because through education, at least you are going to educate someone to be able to understand his or her human rights. Now, for instance, if I educate you on your human rights as a girl, and you start menstruating in a school where there is no supply of water and you have to clean yourself, somewhere, somehow, you will start questioning, but I'm on this, but there is no water at school. Mm-hmm. Isn't that maybe the idea that will spark the conversation, a social discourse? Then we can come in to say, but how are there menstruators in the school, but there is no water? Let's talk to the local authority. Local authority can refer us to the regional government. Regional government can refer us to central government. Then water can be erected there for the girls to wash themselves. It's a systematic approach, I think.
Interesting. We have one more idea that we can, if anyone has any thoughts, Rebecca, you want to go for it? And then we got to wrap up real quick.
Sure. I have a lot of thoughts, but
And you're a little faint, Rebecca.
can you all hear me now?
It's a little faint.
It'll be quiet in the background. So a few of the thoughts that I had was one, oftentimes we tend to believe that we need the United Nations. Not that we don't, but that we need the highest, biggest player to help us affect change. And I would love for a lot of us to start thinking a little bit differently, like using local alternatives or initiatives that are happening in countries that surround ours or wherever nation you're in, because then when you have collective power, then it's also easier to get the attention of United Nations or other large organizations that we need their attention from, right? So I think that's something that within advocacy and within organizing that we can even teach young people in Africa or whatever country. You don't need, it's good to start small. And I know that sounds horrible when we have very big problems that have been going on for generations and hundreds of years, which is another reason as to why the government is not listening. Often it's like, they've been dealing with it this whole time, why does it need to change? And surrounding the idea of shame, which is true, I think that all of your challenges are, you seem to have like a very clear idea of everything, and I think all of your challenges are true. I think your mission points are great. I just would like to, I think it could be a good alternative to focus on the cultural component as well as advocacy for getting women and girls in school. I think when we look at it from that perspective of women deserve to be in school, girls are, half the population that is going to contribute to the nation's rise. When we start from there, everything I feel like will open up. The floodgates will open up. But if people in our communities don't even think that girls belong in school, that girls belong in the kitchen, then everything else doesn't, often, at least what I've seen in Ethiopia and in other East African countries when I would visit or when I would work with Catholic Relief Services, it's the same story. We're still having to convince a lot of local communities, telling the men to please allow their girls in school, because it'll be an economic boost. It'll, all of these positive things will happen when girls get to school. But if we don't even believe girls have the ability to do what men can do, then they don't care about anything else. They're not going to care about menstrual health. They're not going to care about women dying in childbirth. They're not going to care because they don't see women as a positive or equal player. So there are a lot of organizations that are focusing on getting girls to school. And in a few of those organizations, which I can send to Shivani, and I'm sure everybody knows some, they are trying to send like menstruation pads, cups, things that are organic or reusable in the school setting, so then these girls can continue to go to school. And maybe if we utilize them as a partner and their resources for bringing these menstrual equipment to whatever school, then you can build from there and build from their resources. Because it sounds really frustrating to be the only one to, or at least for you, it feels like the only one to kind of want this initiative to go forward. But women don't even want to talk about it. So how do we get African women to discuss things that when we're told to be silent, and when we're told to be in the kitchen, and when we're told to not have a voice? So I don't know, I think we need a lot more women in this field, and I really applaud you for having men be a focal point, but also the women who have experienced this need to be encouraged to step forward to be the teachers, since they have also dealt with this themselves.
Thank you, Rebecca. And I hate to do this. We have to wrap up. Taljaard, do you have any last, minute asks that you would like from us, or any last minute thoughts that you would like to share before we wrap up?
No, yeah, no, just that one. I like that one. Yeah, really, the women. I've also realized that women don't really care about this. They are not speaking up. Even in my circles, they are not speaking up. They, once you approach them, it's like it's not happening. It's like it's not part of it's not happening to them. And also the reason why I focus more on the United Nations is that the UN is that, I believe strongly that they have a more of a supervisory role to play, because most of our countries have signed conventions with them. And when it comes to menstruation, it talks about human rights. That is where I want the UN, that's why I'm emphasizing on the UN to address this from a human rights perspective. You understand? Because I think if they can put this pressure on for the government to rectify this policy loophole, it will be accepted very, very fast and swiftly than just me doing it from the ground. Because we have these conventions that we have signed, we have to live up to them, and they must be monitored and evaluated if they are, whether they are implemented or not. And that's one thing of what the UN structures should be doing. That's why I'm always going to them, not to say necessarily they have to give us money or they have to give us what. No, they can advise the system in the right direction if the system is going wrong. Most of the times, these UN organizations that you find, they become part and parcel of the government of the day. They become part and parcel of the status quo, and then they become effective at the end. That's why I'm bringing this up, so that we can also shake them up, because they have a responsibility to do, a duty to do, and they cannot just be here relaxing. If things are not going well, people must be held to account. That's why our girls are suffering while conventions are there and they are not enforced. So we cannot condone that. And then I would just want to thank everyone. My last word saying that thank you very much, Shivani, for this opportunity. I know the time is limited. Next time maybe we can have a private one, because there is a lot, and there is a lot for me to learn from you guys. And I wish that we can have a similar setup just here in Namibia with our local women, with our local men as well. But it might not be now. It's still, but once we share this video, it can be an eye-opener. It can be an example, like a stimuli for them to respond to this. And then maybe we can stage one as well. It won't cost us anything, but we need to bring each and every one on board. That's my final point, comment, yeah.
I think that's a good call to action for everyone watching this video, and I'll be sure to share that call to action, in our description, and have everyone watch that, because it's very empowering, and more people need to work on the local grounds in such a systemic issue like this. So thank you so much. I just want to thank everyone for this call today. It was very eye-opening, and I want to share, a lot of gratitude for our presenter today. You really, I think, in my opinion, you opened my eyes a lot to more of the international challenge there is with this, and trying to figure out what's the best route that we can move forward with. We may not have one clear, hey, here's how to do this, like a one size fits all sort of formula to help you out. But I think it's important to hear about people's perspectives about this, and they all come from different areas and different experiences in their lives. So I think it's just important to keep our eyes open and keep this conversation going. So if we're going to continue having these video sessions, so please do continue sharing these events and opportunities with your community. We love seeing new people every single week around the world. So thank you so much, and we will see you next time. Thank you.